Alright, so now that your clay is ready to go, your peep has been made, or whatever form you're doing, and you're ready for your clothing, there are two different types of clothing techniques that you need to know about. The first type is adding onto your clay, like the collar of the art smock here and the pocket. And then the other type of clothing is when you press into the clay, like the striped shirt behind the smock or the buttons on the smock, and even the texture in the smock and the pocket. You have to make sure that you have your idea first in your head of what you want to do to decide what parts of their clothing you're going to have pop out. So on my little chick Peep, they're actually going to be a ghost for Halloween, but I'm not going to show you the process of making him into a ghost. I'm just going to show you the two different types of techniques that you need to do on your own. So we're just going to say that that's your Peep. To make the collar pop on this Peep, all I had to do was create a very long, thin piece of clay, and I popped the collar, if you will, to begin with, and I had it going all the way around, starting here, all the way around to the back, all the way to the front again, and I had it popped straight up. Then I took a tool, so we'll pretend like the head is right here, and this is the body. And I took a tool and I smushed the clay together underneath the collar to the body of the rabbit. You want to do this because if you don't, that collar is just going to fall right off when you bake it. You have to connect it. It doesn't have to be pretty because it's going to be underneath. And then all I did was I pulled forward carefully the collar and I pressed it down all the way around. So now I had a piece of clothing that popped away from the body all the way around my rabbit. I did the same thing with the pocket. I added it on to the surface of the body, but I had to combine it all the way around by smushing it with a little tool so that it wouldn't fall off. Now, the other way that you can create the look of clothing is to carve into the surface with a tool like that or a tool like this, and you can draw into the clay. So that's how I made the stripes here. And then I added another piece of clay on top to make the edge of the art smock right here and here, so that it looks like the art smock is over top of the striped shirt when in fact it wasn't at all, and it was just an illusion. So if that was my striped shirt, I added another piece similar to the collar, and I had it going down one side like so, and I used my tool to combine it down on just one side. I left this edge because that's the edge that makes it look like the shirt is actually on top of that stripe, and then I added another one on this side, and therefore this whole area will look like the clothing that's on top of the striped shirt. Ha, so tricky. And then I think I used this tool to make the buttons just by pressing into the clay like that. You can also add buttons on top by making little itty bitty tiny buttons and just pressing them in. If you make little tiny accessories on your clothing like that, then you don't have to use the tool to combine it because they're so tiny that they're just going to stick. But larger pieces, you need to combine it and use that technique so it doesn't fall off. On my rabbit, I have a paintbrush that was made separately and inserted into the pocket before I baked it. And I have my artist palette that was made completely separately, and I glued it onto the top of my rabbit. The texture of my clothing, I don't remember exactly what tool I used, but you can use any tool you want. And I just pressed it in to make a rough, almost looks like wood, the texture of a bark or something, all the way around. That, you can't really see that texture until I paint it, but you don't have to make a texture that looks that way. You can do a crisscross pattern like a weave. You can do a plaid type pattern where you have your stripes going in one direction overlapped with stripes going in another direction like that. But you must have a pattern somewhere in your clothing design. So we want some texture, we want some pieces that are popping off of the body of your creature, and we also want some designs or clothing that's pressed into the body. Have fun!